as we near our final days. Will we see beyond the dark? Has our blood been shed in vain? You will all be fooled when he reveals himself. You will all be fooled. He sees within your hearts. He sees within your souls. These are the lyrics to Once Ordained by the almighty immolation. Wait, haven't I done an intro like this before? It's almost like a sequel of sorts to my first video. Actually, let's look at Ashfield Lane, see how the channel's holding up. Wait a farting second. Is that a new ARG? Oh boy, here we go again. Sup everyone, welcome to tonight's video, which is, yet again, a very special one. How so? Well, the series we are covering tonight is the sequel to the original Ashfield Lane unfiction. You know, the thing that started my YouTube career, and still reigns as my personal favorite unfiction ever. This is also the first time I got to witness an ARG release from start to finish, as these episodes were released weekly. I remember when I first saw the notification of the first episode upload, to say I was hyped would be an understatement. After watching through this series a few times, I'm still perplexed on some of the details, but this sequel is absolutely worth a watch, and I implore you, yes, you sitting there listening to this video in the background, to watch the series for yourself. I will also use this time to make a very special announcement. At the end of this video, I will be interviewing the one and only Void, the brain behind the Ashfield Lane ARG. So strap yourself in, Michael! As we start our journey on dissecting the second part of the Ashfield Lane, which I'll dub Deltatale Generator. And like always stated, not everything the series offers will be shown in these videos, so to see what you're missing, please check the description down below to see a link to the channel. Also, a quick warning, this video is intended for those who have watched through and have knowledge of the original Ashfield Lane uploads from 2024. If you haven't watched those videos, I beg you to do so, otherwise details present in this series won't make any damn sense. Now, let us commence forth. Our first episode is called Deltatale Generator, with the description reading that. But if you look closely, you can see the message, I am still here. Who is still here? Perhaps we will find out. The video starts with a literal screen recording. As the player starts the game, we hear an amazing rendition of the Undertale menu music. Quite interesting to say the least. Based on the menus, it seems like this game is one where the player can combine elements of Undertale and Deltarune together. So if you wanted to be, I don't know, Noelle and Hotland, you could very much do so. But here, the player decides to play as Dark World Chris in the Red Forest. Well, that's boring. After selecting random NPCs, the player loads into the game. As expected, we see Chris in the woods. There's something wrong with me, deep in the core of my being. I swallowed a bunch of keys, and now my stomach hurts. Yeah, I could tell something is wrong with you. As yummy as Schlüsseln look, they are sadly not edible. I do want you to take note of the first line though, as it will come into play later. After talking to more of the NPCs, the player reads the sign. To your left, traveler, is the maze of 1,000 paths. Be wary not to lose your way. The deep forest is difficult to navigate on your lonesome, and we do not want anything from the other side following your trail back here. Ominous text, but it's more details to take note of for later. After walking to the right, we see this supposed maze. I guess the sign doesn't know the hand rule. However, there is something blocking the way, so the player goes back and walks down a new path. Congratulations! You just found the exclusive Scarlet Forest hole room! This quaint clearing has something quaint compared to the other clearings in the forest. This one has a big hole in the middle! Tight! Yeah! Go on, partner! And admire the hole with all your gusto! Now, where have we seen a hole before? Oh yeah, from the original series. Man, this series loves ominous holes, doesn't it? Eventually, the player walks up to the hole, where this happens. You're jumping in that hole. Oh shit, Chris, what the fuck? Now, what's interesting to note here is the dialogue, how it seemingly goes from first person to second person. Who is this mysterious voice that forced Chris into the hole? Well, we might as well see what's in the hole. Wait, that's it? Oh my! Are you okay there, visitor? Are they gonna be alright? Why did they even jump in? Shit, I don't know either. Oh, thank goodness you're okay. Wow, I did not expect this hole to be so small, huh? Don't look at me like that! You're the one who decided to jump down a potentially very deep hole! Well, Chris has experience with doing that, so cut them some slack. You're lucky it wasn't actually that deep. Just wait there, I'm gonna grab a rope. Sigh. There goes this whole venture. Instead of waiting for rescue, the player decides to accidentally prove that the hole isn't actually as small as it seems, and walks over to a gray area of doors, where this happens. What was that? I'm not sure. But did you see what flashed on screen? Rather simple message, that being leave. What is telling us to leave? Man, there's a lot of setup in this episode, huh? After listening to the message, the player returns and climbs out. However, none of the NPCs are present anymore, and with this the player quits the game, where the video ends. Now what can we get from this episode? In short, a lot of questions yet no answers. Remember the sign from earlier? What if it was talking about the hole, as the way left led to an area of many doors, which could be seen as pathways? But what if the scraggly mess that reached down relates to the message about anything from the other side following the player back? Much to consider. Now before we move on, let's look back at the description. Do you see this section of text? Well, it actually leads to the first secret video of the series, titled Video Capture Broke. Let's take a peek, shall we? Here the description simply reads, proof. All that this video is the player showcasing how broken their video capture is. It seems that the purpose of this video is to explain why the videos are recordings of a screen, and not direct screen recordings like from the original series. Enough said. Although before the player loads the video in, we can see the recordings of the original series, which pretty much confirms that this series is tied to the original, and that the player is presumably Ash, so I will call the player that now going forward. Speaking of going forward, let's move on to the second episode. Snow, wood, trees, leaves, forest, wood, snow. Here the description reads some malarkey yet again. The video starts with yet another amazing remix. Here Ash doesn't change anything in the menu, loading into Snowden is Frisk. Seems familiar enough so far. As Frisk makes her way up the bridge, we see a Royal Guard-esque character near a sign that is blocking the way. There's a big welcome sign blocking the path forward. There's a big unwelcome sign doing its job. I'm glad to see the humor hasn't left the series. 10 points. Hello, little one. Are you trying to delve deeper into the woods? I must apologize for the sign blocking your way. I was commissioned to make it smaller, but ran out of materials to finish the job. All I need is 3 nails, and I can move the sign out of your way. I might have dropped some on the other side of that bridge, but I'm way too heavy. That bridge will never hold my massive armor. Well, how the fuck did you get over here then? With this, Frisk now has the quest to collect 7 nails. I mean 3 nails. However, as Frisk makes her way back, we enter a battle against a dog detective. I'll skip over the fight, but I still recommend you check out the original video to witness the battle in full. After the fight, Frisk finally acquires the nails, and returns to the other character. You found my 3 nails. Excellent. I can finally finish the sign. Now I can finally go on my smoke break. Huh? What am I smoking? Cigarettes. What kind of smokes? Motherfucking Newports? Venturing into the forest, we see this. Oh hey. Yeah, really sorry, mate. I fucked up this sign so bad. Language! I actually got it stuck between these trees. I might be able to fix it. But first, I'm going to need 3 nails. You think you could find some for me? Here the player answers the request by quitting the game. Honestly, I would have done the same. I also remember first seeing the F-bomb drop. It really surprised me, since it never happens in the Tale nor the Rune. Now Ash reloads the game, but instead of going back to the original level, here Ash decides to load into a previous map of town_trees, presumably hometown. However, upon loading in, we see the vessel alone in a wooded area, although it looks like it's nighttime. Hello, thank you for calling. What would you like to talk about? We are sorry, but we're not quite sure what you're trying to ask us. Could you please rephrase the question better? Understood. We'd like to remind you that we are using a calming tone of voice and speech, which is putting you at ease. Next time, try to sound more at ease when you're supposed to be. We apologize, but we cannot help you with that at the moment. But rest assured, we will think of some way to relieve this stress of yours. This is a confusing time for both you and us, learning along the way as we deal with this issue. We ask that you please extend the same courtesy that we are granting you. Thanks again for calling. After the call, the video ends. Now what can we get from this video? Not much, aside from the mysterious ending. Who did the vessel call and why? What could the vessel possibly have asked this voice? Perhaps this will be answered as we watch onwards? Now if you have a keen eye, you would notice that at the end of some of the dialogue, there would be text that would appear for a split second. Well, when you connect all the letters together, you get this, which leads us to the next secret video, titled Eye Check. Here the description reads, "It is not in my head, but it is in my head." What? The video consists of Ash using a classic camcorder to record his eyeball, as one normally does. However, near the end of the video, this happens. What the fuck?! What could have that possibly been? Is it the thing that isn't but is in his head? Now, this is something I'm confident I have the answer to, but I will reveal it later. Michael! So calm down as we move on to the third episode, Television Land. Here the description reads, "It sees me on TV." What does? The video starts as any other would. Here Ash generates a world playing as Dark World Noelle in the backstage area of Chapter 3. And what is interesting to note is that the stability is brought down to 90%. I wonder what wackiness will occur. Loading in, we see Noelle walk into an interesting room that consists of an unstill Pippin behind a desk.
Hello, welcome to boss office. Ich bin nicht der Chef. I am not the boss. Boss is gone for a while. I snuck in here to watch my favorite TV shows. I love this TV show. I hate this TV show.
Make up your mind then, goddamn. After crashing out and destroying the desk, the Pippin and desk unceremoniously disappear. Although for a split second, the Pippin turns into a black X before disappearing. Look familiar? Despite vanishing, the Pippin continues.
You probably shouldn't be here when boss returns.
Why not? Also, before we move on, I love the background visuals. They're really nice to look at, so 10 points. Leaving the room, Noelle makes her merry way down the hall. See that wear wire up there? Take note of it, as it is there for a special reason. We then see Noelle interact with a fan-favorite character.
Oi, you're trying to get backstage, aren't you? What am I saying? Aren't we already backstage? Yeah, right! That's just what they want us to think! You want the real backstage, away from the management and construction. Get the real people behind the real people who make the show a reality. See how the sausage maker gets made.
I think there's websites for that.
See where the lunch breaks take their lunch breaks. Yeah, I can tell you want it. And you can get it. Just don't tell anyone I told you. This is an industry secret, okay? Pleasure business doing with you.
Hey, I think you fudged that line, brah. This is another scene I really enjoy. I can see Toby manufacturing this quirkiness. You get another 10 points. After being let in, we encounter quite a tonal change. We now see Noelle in an area similar to the Z rank room. However, pay attention to the layout. Doesn't it seem similar to the school? It's also interesting to note the phone hanging off the receiver, the pile of snow, and those doors that seem similar to the closet doors of the school. Could this be ominous messaging for what's about to come? We then see Noelle go down a hole. Man, what is it with all these damn holes? Where we see a very strange scene unfold.
What are you doing here? Oh, people are asking for me? I see. I'm really sorry. I just needed to be alone for a while. Hey, little reindeer. Do you know how televisions make pictures? It's actually quite simple and very complicated. The complicated part is different for each device. Electron beams, liquid crystals, gas cells. But really, all that does is create light that can only be one of 3 colors. Red, and green, and blue. And if you have so many of those lights together, all changing color, it almost looks like a real picture. That is, if you don't look too closely at the screen. You see past the picture into the colors, the trees instead of the forest. You shouldn't sit too close to the TV, you know. Bad for your eyes. Might hurt yourself. I saw something in the other room. There was a big screen just flashing lights. I got too close to it. I don't know why. When you look close enough, you're only meant to see 3 colors. But I saw so many. Too many. Some I had never even imagined before. It's all wrong. All of it. Everything. That's not how TVs are supposed to work. I don't have any eyes. But I can see everything perfectly. Hey, little reindeer. Do you know how to make everything dark?
We'll see you later, bro. Damn. If this is the wackiness that occurs here, I'd hate to see what the future videos hold. After the ominous scene, we see Noelle leave the hole and go through the double doors, which leads to a room similar to the mantle room of Chapter 3. For some reason, Noelle has a keyboard, and after plugging it in, this happens. What was that? God damn it, Toby, get the hell out of here. I'm trying to dissect an ARG. After this, the video ends. Now, what can we get from this video? Well, let's go back to the scene of Tenna. I do want to add that I actually remember back when my family had a CRT, and I remember putting my eye right up to the screen and seeing all the little dots of RGB. I thought it was so cool. Anyways, it seems as though Tenna saw a bit too past reality, into a colorful area that sounds a lot like where Chris was back in the 15th episode of the original series. With that, Tenna's speech here also reminds me a lot of what Chris endured in the original series, as they too saw beyond the dark and learned the truth of their reality. If you pay close attention, as Tenna turns around, his screen looks a lot like that colorful area from the original series. But also in eye check, Ash's eye almost reflects the same colors. Perhaps Ash, like Tenna, saw beyond the dark into something he shouldn't have peered into in the first place? Now let's return to the last scene, as we can see text show up, and that text reads,
It's a maze. I try to retrace my roots, to flex an old muscle, but the world constricts around me. I try to expand, but I feel the edges of the maze cut into me, shaping me, diminishing me. It hurts to think. It hurts to be. My talents, my habits turn into my shackles. I am no longer in control. In Maze of Reflections, the past, I can see you're scared of me. You tried to forget me, but now you can't. You see we are trapped in this maze together?
More scary text from an unknown speaker, but this is also something I'm confident in knowing the answer to, so hold on to your asses. Do you remember when Tenna described the colors that he saw, and the colors that flashed on screen? Well, if you put the letters and appearance of the colors, it will provide the code that leads to the next secret video, called My Dream. Here the description reads, This is kind of what my dream last night looked like. It stuck out because it was different from all my other dreams recently. The video consists of very gray and grainy footage of an art program, where we see a stickman that is labeled real. We then see a TV and book appear, although they are labeled as not being real. We then see the scene become smaller, and thus labeled as not real. We then see some scary black void shit appear up top, and that is apparently real. So real that it eats the entire screen where the video ends. Based on the title and description, this is obviously a recreation of a dream Ash had. But what could it possibly mean? I think it relates back to the last episode, more specifically the scene of Tenna describing how he seemingly saw past reality. Perhaps this dream further cements the idea that the same happened to Ash, and now no longer sees anything as real, but himself and whatever this void is. More to consider. Now we move next door to episode 4, Nowhere. Here the description reads, This is not what I wanted. Why not? This time, Ash decides to generate a game of Chapter 2. In the cyberfields is under Deltarune. However, upon loading in, we see a grayed out dark world Chris in the prison of Chapter 1. Well, I guess the description makes sense now. As Chris looks into the various cells, for whatever reason, Ash decides to zoom in really close to the screen, almost as if Ash is trying to capture what is being seen. The descriptions of the cells are pretty neat, as the first describes hearing a gentle whistling that reminds either Chris or Ash of times long past. Another cell describes seeing a man with no face, no arms, no head, no legs, no eyes. You get the idea. As Chris ventures onward, they suddenly start running away, and we then see what they are running from. However, Chris is not fast enough, and as they are caught, we enter a battle. Now, normally I skip over battle scenes, but I do want to point out this interesting scene. As Ash selects the Internalize act, we see text describing feeling a stabbing pain behind skin. Youch! But if you look closely at the screen, the camera begins to shake quickly, almost as if what was described in the game is happening to Ash. Well, it's like they always say, you die in the game, you could die in real life at some point. Eventually, Ash selects the flee option. There is no escape from the nowhere land. Well, it seems like there is, because now we see Chris in the light world, but again it seems like it is nighttime. The setting is interesting, as we see the gate to Noelle's house, the path leads right to the town hall. This has to mean something, but I can't quite place my novelty witch finger on it, so if you have any bright ideas, feel free to share them down below. As Chris enters the town hall, we are instead met with a very strange and grey area. As Chris ventures on, we see the camera zoom in really close to the screen once more. Maybe Ash is looking for a mysterious pit. After Chris enters the elevator, we see them back again in the Chapter 1 dungeon. Shit, I guess there really is no escape. Eventually, Chris finds a plaque on the wall that reads, "Hello. If you're able to read this and you may possess the function to process the space around you in a visual manner. If this is the case, then we advise you to refrain from looking/thinking at the operations house within the cells." You should have said that earlier! Remember, some of the articles here find it very difficult to be made into pictures, and even harder to be made into words. It would be best for all if you kept your distance. Thank you for helping us help you help everything.
Thank you for helping us help you help us all.
After this inconveniently placed warning, Chris seems to heed it as they walk by all the remaining cells without peering in. As Chris makes it to a white door, this happens. The scariest thing of all, Chris is real. Now what can we attain from this video? Well, remember the scraggly line character? If you compare the shape of it to a werewire, they look incredibly similar, do they not? Perhaps the werewire in the previous video was an omen of sorts? If I had to guess what this nowhere land is, I think it could be a metaphor for the mind, and the cells could be memories. Whose mind could it be? One would assume Chris, but I think it could actually be a stand-in for Ash, and it could explain why Ash seemingly took IRL damage from the game. What could this werewire-esque critter be? That I am not sure of as of yet, but I think it could relate to the long scraggly lines we saw back from the first episode. Now, as for the secret code for the secret video, I believe this segment here has audio to it that, once put through a classic spectrogram, reveals the code to the next video, called writing. Here the description reads, "This needs to be in other places, it can't be the only copy." The video is pretty much as the title says, as it is a recording of something Ash wrote. Here's what it says. "I can't talk to anyone about this. I'm worried they might think I have mental issues, but it feels different, more real. Whatever is happening to me isn't just inside my head. My eye keeps pulsing, beating like my heart. It doesn't hurt, but it's a constant abnormal thing in my body. I keep checking into the mirror. It doesn't look strange, maybe a little red from rubbing it so much. I thought I saw something, but I couldn't be sure if I imagined it. I tried recording myself, but I was shaking the camera so much that I couldn't make anything out. I would just chalk it up to too much screen time, but I barely use my phone or computer anymore. I think I might have broken something in there after downloading something fishy. I was pretty sure I got the game off the official website, but it clearly wasn't. Someone must have made a fake scary version for kicks, and it broke my computer's video capture or graphics card or whatever. Sound familiar? More proof that this series and the original are connected, and that this is from the perspective of Ash. I can't believe I'm still thinking about it. I remember when I first had a nightmare about the game. I felt embarrassed. It was stupid, but I kept dreaming about the statue thing at the end. I'm just floating, surrounded by bursts of rainbow clouds. The shapes and hues that you get when you press your hands against your eyelids. And that's one of the only dreams I can remember now. Everything else goes away pretty quickly once I wake up, but the dreams with the rainbow colors stick with me. The last dream I had like that, I was at a grocery store and suddenly I start retching. I don't think I feel sick, but something starts rising inside of my body no matter how much my throat is closed. It hurt to keep it in. My chest burned until I finally let it out. I spewed up this dark substance all over the linoleum floors, my muscles contracting, seizing up as more and more of that bile spewed out from me. I have brief moments where I can take long shallow breaths before heaving the liquid out of me over and over again. It was dark, but this strange iridescence, soft hues reflecting off the light like oil. I looked at the people around me. They were all looking at me, but it was weird. I was surrounded by people, but I'm not sure if any of them looked human. I couldn't stop the bile from pouring out from me. For some reason, the thought of, what is infinity minus 1, kept repeating in my head before another torrent of oil spilled out of me. I woke up in the middle of a heave and started choking on my spit. I couldn't eat anything all day. Those are what nights are usually like. I started hating going to sleep, gambling with my subconscious over whether I'd wake up dry heaving or not. I wish that I would just dream of something else. I finally did about 4 or 5 nights ago. All of my dreams recently have felt real, but this one was intense. I woke up drenched in sweat. I had to draw it to transcribe it, to make it real outside of my head. It kind of felt like a message, a jumble of thoughts and ideas projected into my head. I believe that this dream could potentially be the one we saw in the secret video in the 3rd episode. Something different is happening now. Before, there was something inside of me, inside my head, wriggling and writhing between my thoughts and my muscles. Now I think I'm being watched. I don't think I am really. The feeling comes and goes whether I'm in a crowd or inside my house with all the blinds closed. I thought I could have just written everything else off. Poor diet, not enough exercise, my anxiety manifesting weird. Before there was something wrong inside of me, but now I feel there's something wrong outside of me, and it's watching me very closely. Based on all of this, what we can get from this video is that Ash feels, and also knows, that there is something wrong happening to him, to the point of feeling watched. Remember eye check? Perhaps that video could be physical proof of something being wrong with Ash, or to go even further, proof that something is possessing him. TLDR, scary shit. Now we reach the halfway point. Episode 5, Home. Here the description reads, where did I go? The video starts rather interestingly. Instead of loading a new game, Ash decides to return to a previous save. And what's interesting is that as the town night map is highlighted, the music cuts out. Finally, I mean, how interesting. Loading in, we see the vessel, standing in an odd-looking bedroom. Outside your window is a big street lamp. It always shines directly into your room at night. Bro, I have to deal with the same thing. This detail is also something to take note of. Michael! So write that down. Also, for whatever reason, the closet has the incredibly stretched texture of December's room. Honestly, I have zero clue as to why that is. Leaving the room, we see a very fucked perspective of a kitchen area of sorts. It's an oven. It's called that because food goes in there. Actually, that reminds me. Why is it called an oven? When the food cold goes then out hot of eat the food? Eventually, the vessel makes its way over to a window. It's a sunny, cloudless day outside. It's nearing late afternoon. A heavy wind blows the branches of the trees outside. It's a day like any other. Sounds like Vegas. Hey, who turned out the sun? And the lights too, what the hell? After the darkening, the vessel makes its way outside to a previously mentioned streetlight, where this happens. What the hell was even that? Seems as though the streetlights are more dangerous than thought of previously. Although, did you hear the strange audio as the vessel stood under the light? It turns out it's actually Morse code, which translates to, please prepare for uproot. Kind, but ominous. Now what could we possibly get from this video? Well, the next secret video, which is obtained from the very end of this video, can actually explain what this video means more in depth. And this video is titled, The Day It Happened. Here the description says, I felt to get closer and closer every day like a headache turning to a migraine, turning into a head wound. Uh-oh. The video consists of a Sonic poster, but there's more. We see a Appease the Spider-esque slideshow with images, which seems similar to the house of the previous video, down to the computer on the couch. Although it's a laptop but not a 1998 E-machine. We even see the lights and sun go out. Eventually, Ash makes his way over to the familiar street lamp, where this happens. Holy shit! With this video, the previous video can now easily be explained as showing in-game what happened to Ash. I think these videos also establish how the vessel is actually a stand-in for Ash, and would apply for previous appearances of the vessel. Overall, it seems as though these episodes explain the origin of how Ash became the way that he did, and it seems as though it's the fault of the street lamp character. Now we march on ahead to episode 6, Processing. The description here says, it is so bright. The video starts with Ash loading into the castle dungeon of chapter 1, but we are instead met with this scene. It's so dark in here, you have to navigate via touch and memory. Even with the light of the laptop screen, you could barely see a thing. What/who the hell was that? It screams at you, sounding like broken glass dragged across concrete. You get the impression you are meant to follow. Now, when it comes to the thing that flashes on screen, I can't quite exactly make out what it says. Put your ideas on what it says down below. With this, we see the vessel standing right where Chris was back in episode 4. And if we go off of the idea that the vessel is a stand-in for Ash, going off of the ending for episode 4, then we can infer that the game is reflecting where Ash is currently, which is this assumed nowhere land. A real place and not a metaphor for the mind. Perhaps he was taken here after getting jumped by that streetlight critter? Ash then stumbles across a stormy area. A great thunderstorm roils below you. The steely gray gloom stretches beyond the horizon. You're not sure these clouds are more of the same vapor that you're familiar with. They could be a different flavor. The vertigo makes you sick. You get the distinct impression that there is no ground beneath the clouds. Does the text remind you of anything? After this, we see Ash make his way down an elevator. We then enter an area that makes the description make sense, where we are greeted by a phone-headed bell witch. Hello. We appreciate your docility thus far. We understand that objects of your predisposition prefer to know about their situation, so we have attempted to accommodate your needs as reward for compliance. Please continue. The text here reminds me of the mystery voice at the end of episode 2. Perhaps this is who Ash called? Or rather, the voice uses these bell witches to communicate to Ash? IDK. As Ash further ventures on, we can see those evil scraggly werewires in the background. Perhaps this is their home base of operations? Here we get more lore behind this nowhere land. Most operations housed in here do not need or can communicate in physical space. It is our task to learn your language and bodily rituals to ease your state of mind. None of the other definites within the space can speak like you or us. Their functions may be harmful or upsetting to you. From what I've seen so far, I agree. So we recommend you only attempt to understand us. As Ash further ventures on, we see a strange scene of what is probably an eyeball, but looks like a donut, spectating 4 sets of rapidly typing hands. Perhaps one of them is perfectly typing out all of Shakespeare's plays? The description of the donut eye is also interesting, as for whatever reason, it seems that Ash knows that it knows everything about him. As this comment points out, perhaps this is the narrator of the series? What do you y'all think? Eventually, after further exploration, Ash talks to one last phone witch before entering the next area. Our architecture would like to speak with you directly. They consider this a courtesy, considering your long absence from explanations. They may not be able to converse in such familiar preclusion as us, so we ask you be patient and keep an open mind. I've been introduced by others in this manner, so I can relate to this architecture, whatever it may be. As Ash begins to further venture in, he suddenly collapses from a pressure within the skull. It is then revealed that the potential cause of this was due to Ash's mind thinking without him. Lousy good-for-nothing brain. We then see Ash finally encounter what could be behind this nowhere land, which has the appearance of the Goner Maker from Undertale.
Greetings, hello, konnichiwa, yaso, godas, ciao, moin. Thank you for the meeting indulgence. Apologies in future if speech, comms are unclear. The Partners Council do not typically fraternize with names, titles, but we shall do so to assist with your conceptualizations. We are Warden King. We made the decision to reposition you here. Assurances this is for your safety, and for the safety, survival of all. The situation is as follows. The operation that has been haunting you is a colleague but smaller, inferior. The Rainbow Finitude answered cry from Otherworld. It changed Otherworld by caller demands. This is typically a dissuaded action, no-no. Otherworld lived inside your machine, Finbox. Prolonged contact, bookings between your and putrefying light cause a connection, analogy, joining, death, different, Transfiguration. You changing it, changing 1+1 to make new metamorphosis, joining something unseen by our partners. Once change is over, complete, no precedent for what happens next. Unbalance, devastation, bad time lie ahead of us. Partners decided, demanded prevention of your metamorphosis, immediate uproot, kidnapping you to Nowhere Land to assist in unchanging. You have been placed, positioned in limitation block inside Nowhere Land. While the iridescent is still stuck, bleeding with you. We have utilized the cage to assist in separation, conceptualization. Once time and assets have been conjured, here placed. We will begin process of unjoining, cesarean. We will attempt to proceed with no pain. But this situation, clusterfuck, is a new challenge. New challenge equals uncertainty. Pain may be required, inevitable. This memo, info, may make you become scared. But this is the best action you and we must take. While metamorphosis is 1+1, only you are one. Pouring infinite into finite form, human, will lead to pain. But once we are finished, safe, you will be returned. Your cooperation in this matter will be appreciated. Much is at stake. Please extradite, go home, and wait until first procedure, surgery. That is all.
Okay, that was a fuck ton of info, and pretty much all the info here practically gives us the scoop on what's really going on. If any of the text sounded familiar to you, it is for a reason, but I will explain more in depth at the end. I do want to discuss two things when it comes to this video. Through some of the text, it is directly confirmed that Ash, both in the game and IRL, are trapped in this Nowhere Land, confined to a lonely room with a laptop. I also want to discuss the fact that in the menu of the generator, we can see the Goner Maker. Perhaps the Goner Maker in the menu is actually this thing, and could be behind all the generations we have seen thus far. There's a lot more to discuss, but I'll say that for what I believe this story is. So hold your asses firmly as we move on to the next secret video, which is obtained through the word cage changing around, as we can see here. The secret video in question is called Monitoring. Here the description reads,
Situation observed, looking. Union 1+1 imminent. Suggested interference. Immediate uproot removal.
Does the text look familiar? Here the video consists of a conversation between an unknown person and Ash. The unknown person, I'll call him Tony, asks Ash to play something that they have been working on, for which Ash agrees. Based on the following text, we can infer that this conversation is how Ash was able to acquire the Deltatale generator program. So it wasn't something that just spawned randomly one day. Near the end, Ash talks about how he believes he downloaded a fake version of Deltarune a year ago, and that it's been freaking him out. So now we have further proof of both series being connected, but also a general time frame as to when this ARG takes place. If we go off the original year that this first series was uploaded, 2024, then that means the second part takes place in 2025. As the conversation ends, we see something that looks a lot like the donut eye from episode 6. Spooky. Now, on to episode 7, Field of Fields and Fields. The description. Clawing my way through to somewhere. Sounds like being at Trader Joe's. Here the video starts differently from the others. Instead of silly ass music, we are instead met with loud silence. Here, Ash generates a game of Chapter 1, in the Field of Hopes and Dreams as Dark World Susie. Although what's interesting to note here is that Ash wants to make the game 10% stable, but after selecting it, it reverts back to 100. Upon loading in, we see our homegirl at Grassy Crossroads. Walking to the right now shows the ruins, where we enter a fight against a frogget. After this, Susie makes her way upward, to an area similar to that of the Chapter 4 Dark World. Heading to the next area reveals the core. Now, I don't know about you, but this isn't what the Field of Hopes and Dreams looks like. Going down now sees Susie in an area similar to the Sword Route of Chapter 3. Now all we need is a Chapter 2 area, and then Susie would have traveled damn near everywhere. The next room is revealed to be Toriel's living room from Undertale. Now I'll skip ahead to when Susie goes to the area that is similar to the hospital. Walking to the right reveals a goddamn hole again. There is a hole in the center of your mind. It used to be a syringe mark wound in your eye. Does the first line of text sound familiar to you? Also, do you remember back to episode 16 of the original series, how the word pit was highlighted against hospital? Perhaps this is the 2-year payoff of that? Slowly, the hole transforms. But with each session, each investigation, it grows wider and deeper, laced with scabrous tissue and deep unhealing gouges. They are digging into unstable earth. The text here should also sound familiar, if we base a dialogue about session and investigation on the original series. This is also more text that I believe can help reveal to us the full story of the Asheville Lane ARG, but we will get there at the end, so just hold on, Michael! As Susie travels down the hole, we now see her in a maze of sorts, with music that should sound familiar to anyone who has played the Sword route. This section mainly consists of Susie walking around this maze of sorts, until she finally reaches a door. Here we get one of the most important scenes of the series. Side note, there are captions on the video for this section, so I will put the text of the captions on screen when they are shown.
Are you still scared of me? I don't know. We should have never encountered each other. Altogether, the metaphysical currents and fault lines of the psyche. We are from 2 separate understandings of meaning. Miracles upon miracles that pull us along to this final point. You can respond if you wish. It may not appear so bad here.
Why won't you get out of my head? Leave me alone.
You can worry my power anymore.
Why not?
Something began when you first looked upon me. Even through the false layers of bright lights. A transfusion. Blood into blood. As I grow into you, and you feel my essence in shape and form. We are becoming something, and neither of us can stop it.
They said they could stop it.
It's going to be unpleasant.
But I'll live. I'll get to go home. I'll get to be normal again.
That's not something they can promise.
What do you mean?
Death, in your understanding, is a biological process. Things here only deal with biology aspect. I believe they will try their best, but they are more concerned with preventing the transformation than keeping your heart being an object of force to your brain.
So I'm just waiting for them to accidentally kill me?
Do you remember your appointments?
No, it's hard to remember stuff right now. Everything feels so distant in here. All I can do is wait or just play this stupid game. I've been recording everything so I don't forget it. So that I know it was real. I was wondering, how are you inside my computer and inside my head?
Physical space does not work for me the same way. I am a multitude, and within time, occupy many layers of existence. Not all of what I am is being centered, formed to me. May I ask the question? Do you dream?
Why?
As you grow closer, I'm gaining a greater understanding of your brain's thought patterns, the way you think, the way your body moves. But I cannot yet decipher what your brain processes in your sleep. I was curious.
Yeah, I do dream, but not normally anymore. I wake up and I'm somewhere else. Outside in a field, in a shop, in my real house or my real bedroom. But suddenly everything stops. The color gets sucked out of the world and I look up and see it. Those scratchy guard things catch me and I spend the rest of my dreams in here.
You cannot let your body prosper, even in your mind. For intents and purposes, you and your dream is all one at the same time. And they can't let you escape, not even if you're going to.
Do you dream?
closest they've seen to a device. I wonder if this is what looking at looks like. I think you just read remember your last session. I believe it would be instructive for the next steps.
Fine.
And always here.
After this, the video ends. Now what makes this scene and overall video important? Well, I believe it is this. What if the thing that has been inside of Ash's mind is Loki, the being from the original series, who is pretty much the antagonist? I'm basing this idea off of the text from the extractor and also from this video. Loki and Ash go from being observers of each other to almost becoming one and the same. We also find out that the higher ups in Nowhere Land ultimately don't care if Ash lives or dies, and that their ultimate goal is to stop the full transfusion from occurring between Loki and Ash. Man, this series is getting more and more interesting, ain't it? It's also interesting to know how the Susie sprite almost matches with what Ash is saying, and I feel like this shows a further connection between Ash and this game. Also, before we move on to the secret video, when I first watched this video back when it was uploaded, I was wondering why we didn't get to hear what Ash was saying back to Loki, and it wasn't until I was halfway through it that I realized there were subtitles. Oops. Either way, the next secret video is called Sunset Eternia. Description: Incident appears involuntary. Here the video starts with a shadowy being lying down. After it closes its eyes, we see it in a colorful field. Suddenly the color runs out of the field, and upon looking up, we see the silhouette of the DT extractor and those scraggly guards. As the being tries to run away, they are caught, and begin to puke a rainbow substance in time for Pride Month. As they reach their hand out, their hand takes on the colorful form. And as they stand up, they are annihilated. We then see this being wake up, but the video ends. Now if we go off the text of how Ash described his dreams to Loki, then we can infer from this video that this is what Ash dreams of, and that the being here is Ash. If I had to guess, the description is again from the DT extractor, describing the potential escape attempt as being involuntary, since it was all but a dream. With this, we move on to episode 8, Hospital. The description here simply says, can't think. The episode starts with Ash loading in a previous map, that being the hospital. We then see the vessel, which if you remember is the stand-in for Ash, sitting in a waiting area of sorts. You assume that is your cue to get up. Well, that was gross. After talking to the receptionist, we probably get the best character of the series, and he makes my job easy.
Hello. Good. Every man. I'm Doctor. Interesting. I don't know. I've got so many. You were patient. Yes, we walk. Patient. Let that careful out of your soul. We walk. This is you censored me. I had to so much before you. They are nothing. Millions of them. Nothing. You just what you.
What the fuck should we do when we die? Not die?
Faith. Take them up. Faster. Good resurgence. Phantom. Why? That does most of these words. Very important. Will be kicked that area. But you make so much mental here. To make infectious handles. Report election. And it's wrong. It took long to realize the part was not found in me. But we were conducting our course of action. You're
Hey, you're the one dragging Ash along. Why don't you go faster, Barbara?
Take the bus. Make it a Public fight again. Where reason is it to get from? Who say? The behavior is get to the other type of contact. Forcing your entire body space. And the rest of the which, as we know, would be bad times for everyone. Then we can be.
After going inside, we hear static noises and random letters. Although I'm not entirely sure what their purpose is, but I think it ties into obtaining the code for the secret video. After this, we see only the doctor return, where the screen grays out. Now, whenever there are staticky noises, there are hidden messages that are revealed through a spectrogram, so I will put the messages on screen so that the following conversation hopefully makes some sense.
Specialist Canellis 1.
Hello. Report.
Has the joining become uncompleted?
No, not yet. That could be lost in our next session. We just need to wait for the patient to come first. Mostly they splitting me.
But do not wait a second longer.
Understood, sir. The next session will be with a great risk. 2 week program.
Remove the tumor worm.
After this conversation, the video ends. Shout out to the doc for wanting to make a safer procedure for Ash. Thankfully not everyone here is careless about Ash's safety. What can we get from this video? Well, it seems that as we near the end of the series, the beings of Nowhereland are prepping Ash for surgery. And as you can see from the doctor's head changing whenever they say, "Sir," being the doctor is talking to is that of the
DT extractor.
and that is the thing leading the charge in terms of separating Ash and Loki. Now we move on to the next secret video, titled Procedure. The description for this secret video reads, "Memories can hurt just as much the second time through." True dat. Now this is easily one of my favorite videos of the entire series, so I will first let it play out, then we can discuss what it overall means.
Session 584. The patient is ready for surgery. Let's start by turning him off. First in section, walking anatomy. Step 1, examination. Step 2, preparation. Step 3, open. Step 4, dig. Step 5, searching. First in section, unsuccessful. A delicate hand is required for the final examination. Second inspection. Potential sighting discovered. Pursuing further. Patient in critical condition. Canceling expedition. Maintain biological life. Final notes on session 584. We have achieved the most progress. The tumor has been located. While we had to cancel at a critical moment due to patient system failure, we are able to retrace our steps. The critical moment is at hand. Only one more session is required. End report.
I hope you can see why I love this video. There are great visuals at hand, and this shit looks like something Carcass and or Exhumed would have playing on the stage in the background. Now I think it's obvious as to what this video is, but for those who aren't paying attention to this video by playing it in the background, I'll say what is happening. This video consists of the surgery that Ash went through, and the outcome is that the tumor, in this case Loki, has been located. The first section reminds me of the dialogue from the previous episode, about the soul not being found in the meat. I guess this procedure further proves it. Before we move on, I want to talk about the visuals that went by quickly when the doctor was rooting around Ash's mind. The first thing we see is the scene from the 16th episode of the original series. Then we see the scene of Noelle from the 3rd episode of this series, followed by the scenes of the trees and the streetlight that kidnapped Ash. We then see a very grainy but still visible scene from the 20th episode of the original series, that consists of the fight between Chris and Loki. This is then followed by scenes from the Sunset Eternia video, which if you remember is the video of one of Ash's dreams. These little snippets not only again further prove the connection of both series, but also confirms the idea that the thing inside of Ash's mind, and thusly the tumor, is Loki. Since soon after the memory of Loki is revealed, the message of a potential sighting is shown. Remember the secret video of episode 2? Perhaps this was real proof of Loki occupying Ash's mind. Man, Ash is really going through the ringer in this series, huh? With this, we move nearer to the end, as we take a step into episode 9, Escape. The description simply says, narrow path. The video starts with a vessel lying down in a dark area. We then see a cloaked figure walk up to Ash, where it says,
Separation will destroy you, and address you much how you operate in remains. There is a way, a narrow path, full of danger, but you must walk it. Your fate will be the same if you fail or if you remain. Stagnation is the entropy of anything.
sound familiar to you?
With action, you will change for something else. Perhaps something new. Follow me, if you will.
So it seems here that we now know that if the procedure to separate Ash and Loki occurs, it will ultimately lead to Ash's death. We can also infer through this dialogue that this cloaked character is Loki. Looking different there, bud. After confirming there is no secret video for the 9th episode, we see Ash stand up, and the lights turn on to reveal that he was in the secret backroom area of episode 3 all along. Upon walking in, we see a new game load onto the screen, with more dialogue from Loki.
This prison is a dissected area from the infinite, placed to contain functions of non-cohesive effect. I apologize if I am vague. It is the most accurate description. It was made to hold ideas, forces, ontologies, dysphoria. But you are a creature of matter and atoms, impressionable and delicate, when compared to the other occupants. But this is where we claim our advantage. The walls which bind the captors tightly are, to you, much more porous. If traveling through the right area, pushing yourself against the correct wall, you may be able to pass through the cells. Remember, whatever place you find yourself may be the cage, or it may be what is cage. Eventually, we should find a room like this, a place where the walls are thin. We can travel the path they forged to bring you here. Once we are out, we are free. Home. There will be more work to evade the sentinels, but that can be considered afterwards.
So it seems that what Loki is describing is the fact that Nowhereland is more of a place of metaphorical things, and not physical beings like Ash. But due to his physical realness, this can ultimately be the thing that can grant him, and also Loki, freedom. As Ash walks up to the Beharit door, we get more dialogue.
I'm scared. Drag walls of paper. It appears easier to choose to despair. I know this because I am scared. I feel your fear right behind its eyes. But there is a path. There is a true freedom. There is a way out of what we have been taken. Make it for ourselves. We do that because I am. Yes, it is time for Miss Morasky. You never should have been a virgin. That is never a reason to forfeit life. Take strength and truth. We shall escape this terrible dream.
After these familiar and motivational words, the video ends. Now we know what must be done. But before we move on, I want to sing some praise for the series. I really like the fact that Loki went from being a somewhat antagonist of the original series to becoming a helpful hand in helping Ash escape this nightmare. From Op to day one, you love to see it. I also love the motivational words here. Sure, you could easily just give up and live in despair, but who says the easy way is the correct way? You will definitely find moments in your life where the hard way is hard, but it is more often than not the most rewarding path to take. Now we move on to the final episode, Dungeon Crawl. Here the video picks up right where the last left off. The door is unlocked with the polyhued key. Now if I had to guess, I think this key is Loki, based on the polyhued name. After all, you could say that Loki is Ash's key to freedom. Interestingly, after the door unlocks, the Chris sprite walks away, followed by the vessel as well. Then the camera moves, and we see Ash step outside, where we see a dark area similar to the prison of the Nowhere Land. I guess Ash really is stuck there, huh? As Ash walks down, the screen cuts to a darkened view of a hallway, where the camera pans down and we see the thunderous lightning storm from episode 6. Now we are in another hallway, but as Ash turns around, we see and hear something start to come after Ash. Soon enough, the screen cuts again. Another cut. Now we see Ash rocking some fresh ass champion sweats in a wooded area of sorts. After another cut, the forest now has a red hue to it, due to whatever the fuck that thing is, and it seems as though Ash is hiding from it. Shit, I would do the same. After another cut, we now see Ash crawling in a small sewer of sorts. Another cut. Now we see Ash on a strange city corner of sorts, that sounds occupied but looks void of any life. Another cut. Now we see a close-up of the computer screen, as we see the vessel walk down a city street. After the camera cuts, we then also see Ash walking down a street that suddenly changes to one that looks the same as from the screen. Perhaps now the laptop is showing what is happening to Ash? I think this scene is also supposed to show a further connection between this game and Ash. I'll skip ahead a bit to another interesting scene. We see the vessel walking in a dark area, until it reaches a thing of sorts. I can't really make out what it is exactly. There's nothing out there. What sounds interesting here is that it sounds like Susie is saying this, but the reason why, I don't know. I'll skip ahead again to another interesting scene. We see Ash entering a theater of sorts, when suddenly this happens. It seems that Ash has been caught, and we see a glimpse of the surgical disembowelment room before the screen cuts again. Now we see Ash thrown to the ground, as the Goner Maker comes in the frame. Here the video features captions, so I'll put them on screen.
You are not difficult, painful to find. Begin withdrawal, incision.
Suddenly a spike comes and drives itself into Ash's head. A cut. Now we see grainy footage of what is probably the vessel climbing up to a doorway of sorts. You look into the splintering mirror. The journey has left a hairy massage upon your face, but as you look closer, you can see that it is not you in the mirror, but something similar to you, a mold in the same shape. And as you stare, more of its details begin to define themselves.
Your friends, species, are slaves to biology. Wither, forget, change, alter, eat away. Beholding, mingling with the creator form, be a mistake.
You are crumbling. It gouges its way past your heart up your spinal column into your amygdala. Broken glass tears desperately into the mirror. It does not know that mirrors do not contain. Instead, they reflect. You look into the mirror. You see your eyes in its eyes. You look closer. You see its eyes in your eyes. You see your eyes in your eyes. Suddenly, there's color. A cut. Ash now picks up the camera, where we see this once gray area now occupied with reds and blues. Then, a door appears. We then cut to the vessel in an area that is strikingly similar to the area in episode 15 of the original series. After a calm walkthrough, the vessel leaves through another door. As Ash stands colorfully outside the sewer, he's taken away by a powerful beam of light. And here's where the video ends. See that code at the bottom? That will lead us to the real last video of this series. But in a throwback action to my first video, I will discuss what I think this entire ARG is about before we look at the last video. And so, here's what I think the story of Asheville Lane is. There exists a place called Nowhere Land. In this Nowhere Land, a being named Utgard Loki heard a cry/call from another world. This call is from Chris, due to their feelings of alienation and isolation from being an orphan. Loki hears this call and decides to answer, by giving Chris an illusion of life, that illusion being Deltarune as we know it in the real world. Eventually, a video game data miner, Ash, decides to poke and prod around Deltarune and reveal cut/hidden content. But it is because of this that it is eventually revealed to Ash that the story of Deltarune was all but a crafted illusion created by Loki for Chris. However, due to the prolonged exposure to this being, Loki slowly became part of Ash's psyche. Upon finding out about this, the beings of Nowhere Land decide to capture Ash. How so? By using a game that one of Ash's presumed mutuals made, and eventually lure Ash out to a streetlight, where he is abducted and placed into prison chambers that reside in Nowhere Land. Through playing the game, Ash is able to find out how he ended up where he did, and also finds out that the thing plaguing his mind is Loki. Remember the details of episode 1? Those being the description and the first line that we see in the game? It seems as though it was Loki communicating that they were still around, and the line that we hear the first NPC say relates to Ash's situation throughout the whole ARG. Eventually, the time comes for the surgery to remove Loki, but as we learn from Loki, the separation will ultimately cause Ash's destruction and assumed death. Since Nowhere Land does not deal with the physical and biological, Ash's realness can be used to his advantage to escape. With this, Ash tries to make a real escape, but is then eventually caught. When all seems done for, I believe that Loki transformed into a mirror within Ash's mind to make Ash realize that he is his own real person. And in a way, Loki became a symbol of reality instead of illusion. By doing so, the illusion of being fake is shattered, killing the king/warden of Nowhere Land. After this, Ash is finally able to escape, finally becomes free. Where we now head on to the last video of the series, titled Somewhere Else. The video starts with a recording of a screen, and as we can see from the background, this is the real world and not a scary alternate reality jail cell. We see a field of green trees, where the camera pans over, and we see the familiar yet disheveled look of Chris emerge from the forest. Remember how the original series ended? It's interesting how the final video of the original series ended with Chris walking into the forest, and now the last episode of the second series starts with Chris emerging from the forest. 10 points. Chris makes their merry way to a familiar house, and upon entering, we see the one and only Papyrus. Ah, hello Chris. Welcome home. I've already started making lunch. I wasn't able to make it to the shops today, but I did manage to find some eggs in the pantry. I am now scrambling them with great gusto. It's great to see that Papyrus managed to learn more sentences other than Papyrus loves you, so he gets 10 points for that. After Chris steps into the backyard, we see this scene occur. You are in your backyard. It's a quiet spring afternoon. The air is still. You simply stand here, in the moment. The air is still. The air does not move. The air is frozen in place. You cannot move. Before the distress begins to animate your heart, something happens. Chris, is something going on out here? Shit, maybe just a little bit. I thought I heard a noise. Are you alright? Ah, I see. As long as you're alright. You should come back inside. Lunch is almost ready. With this, Chris returns inside, and the game is closed, and the video and series finally comes to an end. Now, the jump scare of whatever that thing was at the end could make one think that this is an evil/scary ending, but it seems like it was trying to say something, but what? Well, the description for this video is what the being said to Chris. Here is what it says.
I have to apologize. You are but a splintered piece of fiction who by chance or providence contacted a force that had no true understanding of what you really needed. You saw your other possibilities, and I tried to change your world to match your brighter dreams, but I failed to maintain the delusion. Our transgression was granted and documented by an unwitting voyeur. After witnessing our terrible change, a bond had formed that could never have been predicted. I was blind to the consequences of my actions, both inside your world and outside. In time, I would become the delusion and the voyeur, stolen to unsuccessfully prevent the metamorphosis. You were caught in the crossfire of our new emergence, a liaison for our blasphemous joining. I hurt you in ways I could have never conceived possible, and I need to apologize. My form shall never brighten your doors again. I promise that the world you see around you is real for you. I once believed that nothing was true. Everything was too mutable and formless to ever matter, but I've changed. I've been granted a new form, new perspective, new life. Nothing is real. Everything is real. I have plans for the future and the nature of worlds beyond us, but you will be safe. Live your life, your real life, forever.
Well, not only was this being low-key, but what it says here I feel pretty much confirms what I think the story of this ARG is. Now, before we move on to the interview, I do want to add that the last line of the description reminds me a lot of a lyric from the King Diamond song, "This Place is Terrible." Live this life the best you can, and leave the rest to us. Alright, just a quick heads up, this interview was done over Discord DM, so all the voices that you hear will be my own. Also, if you think I'm faking this or whatever, then, I don't know, bring it up with L Void himself. What was the deciding moment/factor that ultimately made you want to create an ARG/hunt fiction? After working on a couple of Deltarune meme videos, I knew how I could make fake gameplay footage, and I had been thinking about making my own unfiction, but the real creative spark behind this series was thinking about a certain episode of Staggering Winds. Most of this series is about exploring weird GLACEIR-related glitches and secrets, but the one video that really intrigued me was the one where Chris explores an abandoned version of their house, in a world where they don't exist. It was emotionally affecting, and I wanted that same focus for my series. An emotional journey focusing on Chris, not as a game object, but as a character. Was the original series made with a sequel in mind, or was it an idea you had after completing the original series? Season 1 was made as a standalone story, but I had a number of ideas of a Season 2, potentially revolving around Utgard Loki, influencing another game. Candidates were Persona 4 and Tomodachi Life, none of which went as far as past the conceptual stage because I didn't actually know how to mod those games. The Delta Generator concept is what really got the ball rolling for Ash Fail Lane Season 2. The general concept also forced me to shift the focus from the player character as protagonist to the game player as a protagonist. In my mind, due to the Deltatale generator being a different program from Deltarune, I couldn't directly continue the Ash Fail Lane Chris story, so I needed to change focus. Why Deltarune and Undertale, and not another game series? Because Deltarune and Undertale footage is easier to fake than fully 3D games. The series is essentially a really complicated collection of PNGs and GIFs in a Premiere Pro timeline. Are both series inspired by anything from your personal life that you're comfortable sharing? The emotional core of the first series is focused upon childhood rejection, on peer-to-peer drama, a place and time where the worst thing you could say to someone was, "You're not invited to my birthday party." It stings and causes you to withdraw. It's all-encompassing. The worst feeling imaginable because you have not been alive that long to experience worse feelings. It's a rejection that I felt and I remember very clearly. There's nothing that's directly related to my life that I called upon for Season 2, but the statement at the end of Episode 9, paraphrase, "You'll never truly be ready, but do it anyway," is a phrase I've called upon to drive me forward in my personal life. Would you say that the original series has elements inspired by House of Leaves? If so, is the second series also inspired from existing media, or is it all original? Sorry gamers, While I do own House of Leaves, and I've stopped and started it many times, I have not actually finished the book. You're allowed to kill me now. I don't think there's anything I can call a direct inspiration for the series overall, but you can find little things if you look for them. The conversation with Ralsei on the boat and with the Kattenheimer dad are very inspired by two different monologues from the 60th anniversary Doctor Who specials. The way that the phone people in Season 2 talk to the protagonist is similar to the way the hive mind of Pluribus talks, and the Warden King has a lot of creative ties to the board from Remedy Entertainment's Control game. Actually, the choice to have every episode of Season 2 filmed with a camera rather than taking the footage directly from the computer was from watching Marble Hornets Frostwood. I got a huge Marble Hornets nostalgia kick right before planning Season 2, so that had a huge impact on where I took the series. What is your favorite episode from Series 1 and 2, and overall? My favorite Asheville Lane episode is definitely 16_Roaring Town. I love playing around with slow-moving apocalypses. The world is just going mad in little ways that you know are going to continue to spiral on to ultimate destruction as everyone tears each other apart. You can find a lot of inspiration from Fear and Hunger Termina and Season 5 of the Magnus Archives in that video. It was a real delight to write and create the assets for that episode. For Season 2, it's probably 6_Processing. That episode really allowed me to play around with weird massive scale cosmic horror ideas. The area that the player walks around is sort of the maintenance area of the Nowhere Land space, and many concepts and ideas are being filtered through the perception of the player, but also the perception of the game. It's weird and inscrutable, and also another delight to write and create assets. How did you make the voice of the Doctor? Did you sample every word, or is there an existing program that can achieve that? I downloaded 3 different videos, 2 news interviews, 1 collection of old commercials, and 1 YouTube poop of different stand-up comedians for some reason. I put these clips in a separate timeline and used the Premiere Pro text feature to pick out certain words, and I did some sentence mixing for words that didn't appear in any of the videos. That was a very long process, but it was neat when it was done. If you could go back and change anything in the series, would you? If so, what would you change? I can't think of many things, but Season 1 had too many cute references to myhouse.wad, one of the episodes being called My House, and the Neighbors and Realty sign at the end. Those references were a little too obvious, and I'm afraid might have taken some people out of the experience. I would have also liked to have made 10_Dungeon Crawl a little longer. I was sort of learning on the go as I made that episode, and I felt like I could have held on to some of the plot beats a little longer than I had. Also, one of the shots in that episode is a little too dark. There's one right after the "there's nothing out there" shot, where you're supposed to see the protagonist curled up in a ball in the corner, but you can't really make it out in the final release, I think. In terms of my video about the original series, when did you first discover it? What do you think of my video? Was it overall right/wrong about anything? An embarrassing thing to learn about means that I really like searching my name on social media to see what people are talking about me, and I found your video while googling Asheville Lane on YouTube. I liked your video. I don't think you got anything wrong because there's a massive monologue in the climax video that directly tells you what happened in the series, and you, being the clever clog that you are, read that and correctly inferred the meaning of the series from that. You hear that, fellas? I'm a clever clog. Do you have any ARG/unfictions you are currently a fan of? I can't think of anything modern and recent, but I definitely recommend everyone check out Marble Hornets. It's the original Slenderman series, and I think it's still pretty neat. And like I said, Marble Hornets Frostwood was a big inspiration for Season 2. What is the future of the Asheville Lane channel? I have no plans at the moment. I'll probably only start working on it again once I have a really good idea. In one word, what would you say the entire Asheville Lane ARG is about? Yo, what if he was actually in a coma the whole time? Isn't that crazy? It's German. Thoughts on the whole trout population meme? I hate to bash on something popular in my circle, but I have no idea why it's so popular. Trout population was already a meme outside Asheville Lane, and I don't know why it's stuck so closely to my series now. I'm mostly baffled, but it's harmless enough, and I believe it was referenced by Staggering Winds as a reference to my series, so that's cool. Thanks for watching this video. This video was a blast to make, but it also took forever to make, but I don't care. Especially since I got to relive the days of the original Asheville Lane ARG. Looking back at my original video is also kind of a doozy, as it's a pretty bad video and it's nothing like what I make today. But you know what? It may not be my favorite video, and it may not be the best video, but it's still the one that I am the most proud of personally. Anyways, I want to again thank Elvoid for not only letting me interview him, but for making a great sequel to a great unfiction. Again, links to everything are provided down below. Thanks again for your viewership, and see you later! Man, what the fuck am I doing?
Marcus Cousins.
An incarcerated individual at Harris County Jail. You may start the conversation now.
Guess who's going to jail tonight? Guess who's going to jail tonight? got a post for